One morning, as usual, I was checking my emails and this is what I found. Dear Will, I hope that you are well. Can we please have a hit piece about Mohammed Hijab? And this is when I say... No, it doesn't really work. Lots of people hate him, lots of people love him, but how many people actually understand him? It's been 10 years I'm in England, I've heard of him, but never watched his content until today. When bullies get bullied, Islam versus atheism, intelligent atheist versus Muslim, basics of Sikhi versus Ali Dawah and Mohammed Hijab, Muslim fraudster Hassanat exposed, Ahmadi versus Sunni, giant man versus Turkish ice cream man. I'm a sociologist, I am not a journalist. I'm paid to do research and advise people. For hit pieces, there are better qualified people out there. As if there was not enough beef between Muslim YouTubers. You know, sociologists are like psychologists of the society. We diagnose and find solutions. So it's not our job to say that person is bad, that person is good, but we ask questions. What makes him such a popular figure and what impact does he have on the British Muslim digital sphere? For starters, I can say that Mohammed Hijab has a very distinctive style. He presents himself as a debater and he compares his debating style to boxing. You have different styles of debating, but in sociology you would call this, he has an agonistic view of debating, meaning that his strategy is very frontal, it's not on the sides, he goes like straight in. And that's a very interesting metaphor, because I'm wondering, you know, in debating, can there be like an Aikido style of debate where you use your opponent's strength? I personally prefer Pencak Silat because this is the most comprehensive martial arts I've come across, it suits me. It comes from Indonesia and you can watch examples in the movie The Red. But when you consider debating as a martial art, you consider people not as potential allies, but opponents to defeat. And if you look, his most popular videos do sound like boxing matches. Muslim versus atheist, Hijab versus Peterson.
Muhammad goes high, Burns goes low, that's been the story. Good counter right from Muhammad after Burns had landed with his right hand.
Some of my friends joke about Dawah debates, saying that, you know, it sounds like Alien versus Predator episode 13. By adopting a sports vocabulary, he positions himself as a champion, as a defender of something. So I guess most people see him as a defender of Muslims. And he plays the part. He appears always fearless. And I guess this is why so many people look up to him. And he has a huge presence on screen. He is tall and muscular. If he wore a cape, he could completely be a superhero. He stood up against people who have power, or let's say aura in the internet, like Jordan Peterson, or even in real life like the First Minister of Scotland, which he declared an apostate.
You have no right to call yourself a Muslim. You are excommunicated from the religion of Islam.
I'm new to Islam, I'm not a theologian, so I don't know like who can call people apostates. To me it sounds more like the Christian Inquisition, which was like a very dark period in history. But nonetheless, this is a strong demonstration of power. This image tells you that you really don't want to debate this guy unless you really have to. He appears so merciless that you tremble with fear. What if he finds that your beard is 1 inch shorter? He's gonna pull a John Wick on you.
John Wick. Excommunicado.
To excommunicate someone is not only a demonstration of power, it is an act that bears a symbolic violence. Just like an uppercut, it's just like a hit in your spleen. And people respond to that because it presents religion as a sport. Many people think that religion is boring, it's old books, stupid rules. In my research, I find that the biggest problem is that for most people, religion has become an identity label, a cultural heritage, nothing more. Thanks to people like Mohammed Hijab, religion is not for these young people this boring thing anymore. They see that it can also be a battlefield. Some people would argue that if Mohammed Hijab was given the opportunity, he would tell the angels to burn down the people of Taif who threw stones at the Prophet, or you know, the neighbor who would dump trash on the Prophet's door. He would just sort out this issue on the ring. I'm sure if I was to meet him, he would be a lovely guy. And I'm even sure that if you were to know Mohammed Hijab, you would find an amazing story of resilience. He grew up without a father. He has been bullied for his appearance, for his origins. In my research, I've come across Muslims who wrote that maybe they should fat shame Mohammed Hijab for his own good, as if it was sunnah to fat shame people. Never judge a person until you know their full life journey. You never know what they've been through and where they come from. And sometimes I think that maybe behind the anger, there's a cry for despair, for a word which has gone wrong. I think I would actually love to see Mohammed Hijab excommunicating more people. In my research in the UK, I have met in person people who are much more dangerous than Hamza Yousaf, who've been active longer than him and who have a much more detrimental effect on Muslims' political, social and economic situation. And we're talking about think tanks, private groups who have access to lots of money, networks, the media, politicians, groups that create fake Muslim outlets and organizations that cherry-pick, select and engineer a very specific type of Muslim influencers to propagate the narrative. This practice, called astroturfing, is very well documented. Now, Hamza Yousaf is nothing compared to these. Now the world is divided over feminism, Black Lives Matter, climate change, LGBTQ, while we have a multi-million-dollar Islamophobia industry, and there's books on the topic working at undermining Muslims in Europe and North America. And one thing they love is to see Muslims divided. But Mohammed Hijab is not just a belligerent YouTuber, far from it. He can be funny. Okay, he's got almost 1 million followers, but how can he use his audience to make this world a better place? But look, he's been fundraising for projects abroad. He's been raising awareness on people who are oppressed. But how many views do these important videos gather? Top 10 polymath in Islamic history, 33k. The Rohingya vlogumentary, 36k. Oppression on Uyghurs exposed, 39k. Uyghur protest, 44k. Prophet Muhammad's farewell speech, 55k. Why does his charitable works don't gather as many views as these debates? Perhaps we need to reflect on ourselves. Maybe Mohammed Hijab is just a mirror that he holds to the society, and the success of his channel tells more about ourselves than about himself. And that's not Mohammed Hijab's fault. We live in a time where doing good is boring, education is boring. If you want to pay the bills, you need to attract attention. If you want to attract attention, well, sadly you need controversy. If we imagine a world where we didn't have dopamine hits, I am sure influencers, most of them would be broke, or they would have very different engagement techniques. Who is really at fault when it comes to social media? Why do we hate him? Why do we love him? Why do we respond in that way to that content? What if the responsibility and the power was within us? Because with every view, with every subscribe, this is some power we choose to give to someone. Thank you very much for watching and take care of yourselves.